WVLA TV, a new vision for Louisiana. From 33 Metro News, news with Heath Allen and Sonia Fort. First weather with Mike Reeves and Rich Lenz with Big Board Sports. This is Baton Rouge Tonight.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Baton Rouge Tonight.
Topping the news tonight, Arizona Governor Evan Mecham has become the first U.S. governor to be impeached and removed from office in nearly 60 years. Just a few hours ago, the Arizona Senate voted to convict Mecham of attempting to thwart a death threat investigation.
With the governor looking on in chambers, the Arizona State Senate late today found Evan Mecham guilty of an impeachable offense, obstruction of justice.
By your vote of 21 ayes and 9 noes, Evan Mecham is convicted of high crimes, misdemeanors, or malfeasance in office as contained in Article 1 of the Articles of Impeachment.
For many of the 30 members of the Senate, the vote to remove Mecham from office was an emotional one.
And I don't find that that particular case has been sufficiently made. And I vote no.
Even with the conflicting testimony and presentation of issues, I believe the facts are undeniable. I cast my vote on Article 1 as guilty.
During the 5-week trial, the Senate heard charges the governor obstructed justice in ordering the head of the state police not to cooperate in the investigation of a death threat by one of Mecham's aides.
His reaction was, well, if you want my permission to talk to the Attorney General, you can't have it.
Mecham testified he did not consider the threat serious. The governor was also accused of illegally loaning state money to his automobile dealership. He is now selling the dealership, claiming unfavorable news stories about him have driven customers away. When Mecham testified on this count, he became angry after the prosecutor likened the loan to embezzlement.
I have not seen any individual witness insulted as I have been, sir.
The Senate also convicted Mecham on the second count of the indictment by an even wider margin, but it chose not to invoke a clause which would prohibit Mecham from ever holding office again. He may be eligible to run in the recall election next month. Don Oliver, NBC News, Phoenix.
Well, 20 years after the assassination of Martin Luther King, Americans, black and white, remembered the fallen civil rights leader today. A memorial service this morning at the Orpheum Theater in Memphis, Tennessee, a city landmark just a short march away from the Lorraine Motel, the place where King was killed. More than 2,000 people showed up for that march, including civil rights leaders, congressmen, and union workers. In Atlanta, Georgia, King's wife, Coretta Scott King, and her family walked from King's Center for the nonviolent social change to his tomb in the courtyard. 2 wreaths were laid at the gravesite as a crowd of nearly 600 people sang, "We Shall Overcome."
Here in Baton Rouge, local civil rights leaders remembered King as well. Maurice Brown talked to a civil rights leader here at home who remembers King.
And we as a people will get to the promised land.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., assassinated 20 years ago today, is being remembered across the United States. King, who gave his life for equal justice for all, is remembered for his nonviolent marches.
We were marching then for rights. That was before you had lunch counter integration. You couldn't stay in a hotel. You didn't have public accommodation. Buses were incidental, but we wanted to sit down and eat, and that's what we were marching for then.
Did Martin Luther King speak here?
Yes, he came to our church, and we invited him to be our Men's Day speaker. And he came and shared with us in the year of the latter part of 1955. And he spoke to a standing room only crowd even then. The last time I spent some time with him was in 1961 at the National Baptist Convention.
7 years after that convention, Martin Luther King was killed. His life may be gone, but his memories and dreams live on. Maurice Brown, WVLA 33, Metro News.
Here at home, evangelist Jimmy Swaggart must decide whether to remain with the Assemblies of God Church and stay out of the pulpit for a year. His alternative appears to be separating completely from the denomination. but Swaggart is remaining all but silent.
The Lord doesn't punish people. He loves people.
The one you're banned on, you're going to accept it.
The Lord loves people. The Lord loves you too. I love the Assemblies of God. We love you too.
The executive presbytery of the church has heard nothing from Swaggart. The body held a teleconference this morning, but without a response from Swaggart, they made no decision themselves. A spokesman for the church said Swaggart could face expulsion if he doesn't respond soon.
In Metro Check, almost 47,000 Baton Rouge residents will get a check in the mail for $8 this week. The check is a refund of a trash pickup fee collected by BFI Industries earlier. The refunds are part of a settlement reached with the city parish to make up for overcharging the parish for garbage pickup.
$200,000. That's the bond set for the release of a 17-year-old, Valara Broussard. Her 16-year-old male companion, though, faces a $1 million bond. The two are suspected of kidnapping a Baton Rouge surgeon and his wife in Mississippi last Thursday. They're suspected of driving the couple to their Bocage home, robbing them, and then leaving them tied up. The surgeon, Moss Bannerman, and his wife were uninjured.
Happening around the world tonight, authorities are searching for 3 escaped murderers. The inmates broke in a West Virginia prison's basement, made their way to an empty building, crawled out a window, and climbed down a wire to the ground. On the ground, they changed clothes behind a large air conditioning unit and then cut a hole in a chain-link fence. Officials think the men had outside help. They are being sought in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia.
Well, 9-year-old Tony Eliagina is now the youngest person to fly solo across the United States. The young pilot flew from Santa Ana, California to Boston, Massachusetts. On his return flight home, he landed at Washington, D.C.'s airport to meet the press. Until Tony finished this flight, the youngest pilot to make it across the country was 10 years old, only a year older than Tony himself. So what's making health headlines tonight?
AIDS in teenagers. He's making family health headlines tonight. Teenagers may be more resistant to the AIDS virus than other age groups. The New York Times reports recent studies indicate that teens infected with the AIDS virus are likely to remain free of the disease longer than adults or infants. Dr. Edward Gompertz of the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles says, although the results are preliminary, everything is pointing in the same direction. With everything else you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, one of the last things you'd probably take time to think about is your toothbrush. But in tonight's Health Focus, we learn they are maybe more involved in choosing and using your toothbrush